Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Not out on the field. I was this morning. I could have shown that, but I'm going to do a little bit of a product review. I've got the Manticore, and I've got the 15-inch oval detector head. I'll put a picture up, and I was speaking to a couple of other detectorists, and one of them loaned me the 18-inch Coiltek, full circular coil head, and I took it to a field. I'll describe the field, and you can hopefully imagine the situation. So it's a couple of fields that I've had some hammered off. And the story of the field is, when I was first going on, I was pulling all sorts of, big lumps of lead and, Queen Victoria pennies and, bits of cans, everything, the usual stuff. But some medieval items came out. A couple of spindle walls and a pilgrim's ampulla. Then I started hitting a few hammers. So on one field I've had, I won't be underestimating to say between about 18 and 20, and then the one behind it about 12 hammered off. So I've been backwards and forwards on this field, so that now, this is the situation now, or has been for, long over a year. And maybe even a couple of years, that the field is pretty bare, absolutely bare. There's bits of iron signals. So what tends to happen now is, literally no signals apart from the little bit of iron. Occasionally, maybe one or two signals, but more often than not, it's a recent drop. But what happens is that if the grass is extremely short, eaten down by sheep, and if it's, the best conditions, absolutely poured it down, in January, February, when the ground is absolutely sodden, then I can go over it for, 3 hours, and I might get 2 signals, 3 signals, but one of them could be a hammered coin. So I still get the occasional hammered coin off in perfect conditions. So it's always worth kind of going back to. But literally I'll say what happened today. So that's where I took that coil. So I thought, right, there's a few hot spots on this field where it was more likely that most of the hammered coins came up. So the grass is pretty short. It is short. The sheep are on there. The ground is damp, but it hasn't been absolutely pouring down for 2 months. So I'll give it that. But I was hoping that the 18-inch compared to the 15-inch oval would, spring a few signals, and I'll be able to go back, and, think it's a worthwhile investment and get one of my own. So I had 2 full hours on the field. I could hear church bells in the distance as well. So 2 full hours on the field, and I found nothing, absolutely nothing. But, there's a few, pieces of iron still about, but not one signal. So, and I have had, again, admittedly, when it's been absolutely pouring down, my 2 only short cross hammers off this, one of the fields, and they were very deep, and both were when the ground was absolutely soaking wet through. So maybe if the ground was soaking wet through, one would have popped up. But I covered quite a lot of ground, because it's a very large detector head, and not one find, not a thimble, not a button, Nothing in 2 hours of detecting. That's how much I've stripped the field, but it didn't find anything extra. So this idea that it would get an extra few inches of penetration didn't happen. One of the other detectors was saying that, because of the diameter of the coil head, that it could miss, tiny hammers, and it might be worth even going on with, the small snipery coil or whatever it's called, but not an extra signal, nothing. So unless you are looking to build up your arm muscles and turn into a bit of a Popeye, it didn't find anything for me. So that is my personal experience of moving from the 15-inch oval Equinox to the 18-inch circular. It was grunting with iron, so I know that it was switched on, but no, not a single item in 2 hours. Nothing extra. So that's my personal experience of it. What's your experience? Bye for now. Happy hunting out there.